Hello, good morning, good afternoon, depending on what country you're in. This is Lee Cummings, the author of the Negro Question book series. I decided, actually, I stumbled on the idea of doing this piece on the Black popes to show you that there was a time in the history of Europe when the popes were indeed Black. I think 13th, 14th, 15th century. And we're going to show you. The popes became white after the white barbarians overran Europe in 450 AD. That's right there in their history books. It's indisputable, and they cannot deny it. Hadrian built a wall between 122 and 132 AD to keep the barbarians out of Black England and Black Britain. That wall, I guess, based on the map, kept the white barbarians out of England and Britain for 320, 330 years. And we're going to show you. We got the artifacts that prove that the popes in the 13th, 14th, and possibly the 15th century were Black. And these artifacts come out of Europe. These are not artifacts that were man-made. So the title of this lesson is The Black Popes. It's going to be very brief. Let me see if I can get to my next artifact. Here it is. This artifact is of Pope St. Augustine. And I guess the creator of this artifact is Pietro di Giovanni di Ambrosia. Boy, got a real interesting name. But it was circa 1435 AD. And as you can see, this Pope was depicted as a Black man. And now, this current Pope that we have, he draws his ancestry from his Black mother from Louisiana. But when questioned about his Black ancestry, he simply stated that he didn't recognize his Black ancestry. Never said he wasn't Black though. But just to show you that this is not an anomaly, a Black Pope. The popes used to be Black. In fact, all of Europe was Black. And from time to time, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, I'm be doing these little short pieces for you. So this Pope right here, St. Augustine, was a Black Pope from the 15th century. Let's see if we move on to another Pope. This Pope right here, St. Nicholas of Bari by Angelico, I guess, Francisco. I don't know what that FRA means. It's short, it has to be Francisco. Anyway, this was circa 1438 AD. And again, it's unequivocally, uh, uh, undoubtedly a Black man. And this was a Pope. In fact, if you go back, and it appears that this St. Nicholas might have been the one that issued the papal bull, the Dum Diversa, in 1450. And the Dum Diversa proved, well, it didn't prove, it gave the Roman Christians, Portugal, Spain, and the Dutch, the legal right to go in and enslave any nation of people that were not Roman Christians. So you could have been a Muslim, they found you, they would have enslaved you. You could have been a Hare Krishna worshiper, you would have got the business. It didn't matter that they were Black. And just the mere fact that this Pope is Black, it proves another thing. It proves that the slave trade had nothing or had zero to do with race. It had more so to do with religion than color, being that the Pope himself was Black. And Benjamin Franklin states in his essay, The Observations of Mankind, 1751, that Italy was Black, Spain was Black, Portugal, Germany, the Russians, and the Swedes. So it proves that the Black slave masters in the South were the how am I going to rephrase this? They were the real slave masters. And what we got with the brainwash, I was talking to a brother at McDonald's. I just started teaching classes out of McDonald's. And I was talking to one of the elders, and I asked her a question: how do you create a hybrid man? And and it was I was kind of shocked that the brother gave the correct answer, and it was the right answer. He said by giving him false memories. And how do you give a man false memories? You start at the school level, the grade school level, and you indoctrinate him with a bad history, and then you make sure he goes to an indoctrinated church. So the black churches are an extension of the indoctrination that our children receive in these school systems. You get what you pay for. If you get a free education and you get indoctrinated, why are you upset? You didn't pay for it. That's why it's free. So this is the real history of the Roman Catholic Church. So far, this is 1438, and we got a what? Another black pope. But the only images that we've ever seen of the papacy or the papist, as King James would call them in the book that he wrote, the Basilica Duran, where he testifies unashamedly or unabashed that he was not a Catholic or a Papist. King James belonged to the Anglican Church, Anglican. They kept the Sabbath day. They kept the dietary law. They were in open war with the Roman Catholic Church. There's an introduction page that's aligned, that should be in everybody's Bible around the world, these so-called King James Bibles. The introduction has been taken out of it. In the original introduction of the 1609, 1611 King James Bible, the Stuarts, King James, who originally was King James VI of Scotland, and then after he merged Scotland with England, he became known as King James the First of England. The reason why they didn't mention his Scottish background is because the Scots were known to be a black people with curly afros. This is a mere fact. Now check this out. This is the second pope that is black that'll be validated if you call down to Rome and ask them about these artifacts. These artifacts came from Rome, came from Europe, not Rome, but Europe. They didn't originate in the United States. I got one more picture and I'm gonna close this out. This artifact is of Saint Jerome, and this was circa 1360. He was the Bohemian court painter to Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor. I guess I'm gonna have to scratch him off my Pope list. But Saint Jerome was also what? He was also a black man. So these priests and these popes are what? They're black. They were black. So the Bible says that if it were possible, they would fool the very elect. And if you come outside of them churches and be a real pastor and stop talking about these other preachers, stop taking your lessons and do an entire lesson on these other preachers. That's all you preachers, all you doing is throwing rocks at each other. This is what they're doing on the internet now. They're not teaching anymore. They just throwing rocks at one another. And then just actually teach your people. The Bible says the people perish for what? Lack of knowledge. And this is what's going on in the school system, the churches, and with your street preachers. So visit the Negro Question Bookstore, the negroquestionbookstore.com, and or go to Amazon and purchase the Negro Question book series. And I'd like to thank you for your time. You know my little catchphrase. See you where? See you at the finish line.